So the internet gods have brought you here, and I am so glad they have. Welcome, you found our secret hiding place. Now you're part of the club. This is the Dragon Ladies Reading Club, Book Club, whatever you want to call it. I hadn't settled on a name. This is episode 1, okay? But I'm Mary. It's nice to meet you. Dragon Ladies Book Club isn't just for dragons and ladies. You could be anything. Mermaids are welcome, boys, but non-binary friends, whoever, as long as you're going to be respectful of other people's opinions and be accepting, and you want to have some fun reading in a little unusual way, then you are welcome here, and I want you here. Now, I have picked our first selection. I know, Hunger Games by Susan Collins. You've already read it. So is the rest of the world. Guess who hasn't? Oh, I lied for years. And I told people I'd read this book. And now I want to make it right by actually reading it. I need to come clean on that. I've heard great things. I read chapter 1 and it's already juicy. We're going to go into the excerpts. We're going to take a little of the best snippets and we're going to mull over it. And we're going to talk about the juicy stuff, the tea, what it makes us think of. But I can't do this by myself. It's going to be a really shitty book club if it's just videos of me reading to myself. Hey, I like it. But this is going to keep us from getting bored and lonely. Even I don't read anymore. And I was an English teacher, okay? I've taught English. I come from the library world. I'm getting my master's in library science. And even I don't even read that much anymore. And I thought about, why is that? It's because reading is a lonely endeavor. It pulls you away from the world. That can be a good thing. Pulls you away from others. It kind of breaks your connection to reality, which is, with social media already pretty broken. I thought, why don't we actually connect and build a community of like-minded people? People like to daydream. People are a little eccentric and quirky. Why don't we read books together, talk about it, become friends? I know, but even I've gotten lonely and don't read anymore, so we're going to fix it. We're going to use this as a way to make like-minded friends, get to know each other, and get some old reading for the noggin. How does that sound? Let's start. The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. I know, I highlighted some stuff, okay? Part 1, the tributes. Ooh. When I wake up, the other side of the bed is cold. My fingers stretch out seeking Prim's warmth, but find only the rough canvas cover of the mattress. She must have had bad dreams and climbed in bed with our mother. Of course she did. This is the day of the reaping. That does not sound like a good thing. I prop myself up on my elbow. There's enough light in the bedroom to see them. My little sister Prim curled on her side, cocooned in my mother's body, their cheeks pressed together. In sleep, my mother looks younger, still worn but not so beaten down. Prim's face is as fresh as a raindrop, as lovely as the primrose for which she was named. My mother was very beautiful once too, or so they tell me. Okay, when I read this last night, when I was looking over it, and it was like, oh, Prim's cuddled up with her mother because it's the reaping and she's stressed. Okay, Prim's a teenager, isn't she? Like, my daughter's a young teenager. And at this point in her life, I don't care if it was the last day of her life. I don't care if she had a death sentence. She would not let me hug on her and cuddle up in bed with me. It wouldn't happen. She'd be like, keep your distance. Let's skip on a little bit here. Our house is almost at the edge of the seam. I only have to pass a few gates to reach the scruffy field called the meadow. Separating the meadow from the woods, in fact, enclosing all of District 12, I know that's where they live, is a high chain link fence topped with barbed wire loops. In theory, it's supposed to be electrified 24 hours a day as a deterrent to predators that live in the woods. Packs of wild dogs, lone cougars, bears that used to threaten our streets. But since we're lucky to get 2 or 3 hours of electricity in the evenings, it's usually safe to touch. Even so, I always take a moment to listen carefully for the hum. That means the fence is live. And right now, it's silent as stone, concealed by a clump of bushes. I flatten out on my belly and slide under a 2-foot stretch that's been loose for years. There are several other weak spots in the fence, but this one is so close to home, I almost always enter the woods here. All right, an electric fence. I know she said it's off sometime, but I wouldn't do it. I'm scared to death of being electrocuted. If you've ever had that little, even that where they tell you to lick the battery, your friends would lick the battery and say, gives you a little zap on the tongue. Don't do it. I mean, that's a deterrent for me, for real. That's the way to keep me from doing anything. Like, I think it stems from when my sister and I were little. We would play this game called Hide the Hairpin. We were very poor, sorry. And she found a great hiding place for the hairpin, an electric socket. She's right, I wasn't gonna look there, but as soon as she stuck that hairpin into the wall, right? Her hand was all black, smoke was coming off of it. She smelled like barbecue chicken. And after that, I knew I would never be an electrician, and I wasn't gonna mess with any electricity. So, sorry, Katniss, you are a brave soul. As soon as I'm in the trees, I retrieve a bow and sheath of arrows from a hollow log. Electrified or not, the fence has been successful at keeping the flesh eaters out of District 12. I don't remember any cannibals in this. Inside the woods, they roam freely, and there are added concerns like venomous snakes, rabid animals, and no real paths to follow. But there's also food, if you know to find it. My father knew, and he taught me some before he was blown to bits in a mine explosion. Girl, she's hit us with that. Tragic family. There was nothing even to bury. I was 11 then. 5 years later, I still wake up screaming for him to run. God, what a crap place to live, this District 12. In the fall, a few brave souls sneak into the woods to harvest apples, but always in the sight of the meadow, always close enough to run back to the safety of District 12 if trouble arises. District 12, where you could starve to death in safety. Man, they probably got some terrible vitamin deficiencies. Like some rickets or something. I then glance quickly over my shoulder. Even here in the middle of nowhere, you worry someone might overhear you. When I was younger, I scared my mother to death the things I would blurt out about District 12, about the people who rule our country, Panem, from the far-off city called the capital. Eventually, I understood this would only lead to more trouble, so I learned to hold my tongue and to turn my features into an indifferent mask so that no one could ever read my thoughts. Even at home, where I am less pleasant, I avoid discussing tricky topics, like the reaping, or the food shortages, or the Hunger Games. Prim might begin to repeat my words, and then where would we be? Okay. I've thought about this before when I was a kid, and you'd read about Germany and World War II, about how they'd rat each other out if you weren't following Nazi orders, or you were harboring people you shouldn't, or saying something that was negative about fascism, I guess. And I would think, oh my gosh, I would be so doomed, because I am known to blurt things out. I always have my foot in my mouth. And I have a hard time not complaining. I mean, I'd be dead in this world for sure. They would take me up to the Capitol and beat me to death, or whatever they do. In the woods waits the only person with whom I can be myself, Gale. The sight of him waiting there brings on a smile. Gale says I never smile except in the woods. Hey, Catnip, says Gale. My real name is Katniss, but when I told him, I had barely whispered it. So he thought it said catnip. Look what I shot. Gale holds up a loaf of bread with an arrow stuck in it, and I laugh. It's real bakery bread, not the flat, dense loaves we make from our grain rations. I take it in my hands, pull out the arrow, and hold the puncture in the crust to my nose. Inhaling the fragrance that makes my mouth just flood with saliva. Fine bread like this is for special occasions. Still warm, I say. He must have been at the bakery at the crack of dawn to trade for it. What did it cost you? Just a squirrel. I think the old man was feeling sentimental this morning, said Gale. Even wish me luck. Well, we all are feeling a little closer today, aren't we? I say, not even bothering to roll my eyes. Prim left us cheese, and I pull it out. His expression brightens at the treat. Thank you, Prim. We have a real feast. And suddenly he falls into a capital accent, which I'm going to try to attempt. I don't know what they sound like. He mimics Effie Trinket, the maniacally upbeat woman who arrives once a year to read out the names at the reaping. That sounds like me. Maniacally upbeat. Y'all don't judge. I almost forgot. Happy Hunger Games. He plucks a few blackberries from the bushes around us. And may the odds. He tosses a berry in a high arc toward me. I catch at my mouth and break the delicate skin with my teeth. The sweet tartness explodes across my tongue. Be forever in your favor. Or be ever in your favor. I'm going to have to learn all these famous sayings. I can't mess them up because everybody knows the story too well. I watch as Gale pulls out his knife and slices the bread. He could be my brother. Straight black hair, olive skin. We even have the same gray eyes, but we're not related, at least very closely. Okay, so the description of Gale. Who would you cast if you had made the movie version before you'd seen it? Because I think of like Timothy Chalamet. Now Katniss, if she looks like that too, I wouldn't have thought of Jennifer Lawrence. Wouldn't Selena Gomez be a good Katniss? Is that just me? I think she would be good. All right, most of the family who work their mines resemble one another this way. They probably are related, by the way, but I mean, what are you going to do? They got you fenced in at District 12. You're going to have sex with your cousin at some point. We could do it, you know, Gale says quietly. What? I ask. Leave the district, run off, live in the woods, you and I. We could make it, says Gale. I mean, if we didn't have so many kids, he adds quickly. Oh, they're not our kids, of course, but they might as well be. Gale's 2 little brothers and a sister, Prim. And you may as well throw in our mothers, too, because they couldn't live without us. I never want to have kids, I say. I might, if I didn't live here, says Gale. But you do, I say, irritated. Ooh, let's skip a couple pages because we got to get to this reaping. Which is unfair, she says. The reaping system is unfair, with the poor getting the worst of it. You become eligible for the reaping the day you turn 12. That year, your name is entered once. At 13, twice, and so on until you reach the age of 18, the final year of eligibility, when your name goes into the pool 7 times. That's true for every citizen and all the 12 districts in the entire country of Panem. Ooh. I protect Prim, you know, her little sister, in every way I can, but I'm powerless against the reaping. The anguish I always feel when she's in pain wells up in my chest and threatens to register on my face. I notice her blouse has pulled out of her skirt in the back again and forced myself to stay calm. Tuck your tail in, little duck, I say, smoothing the black blouse back in place. Oh, I can't talk. It's too bad, really, that they hold the reaping in the square, one of the few places in District 12 that can be pleasant. I really wonder what that looks like. The square's surrounded by shops on public market days, especially if there's good weather. It has a holiday feel to it. Do they celebrate like a Christmas type holiday or Thanksgiving type holiday? But today, despite the bright banners hanging on the buildings, there's an air of grimness. The camera crews, perched like buzzards on rooftops, only add to the effect. People file in silently and sign in. The reaping is a good opportunity for the Capitol to keep tabs on the people as well. Ooh, like a census? You can't ditch out either because they know you're there. But I would try. 12 through 18-year-olds are herded into roped areas marked off by ages, the oldest in the front and the young ones like Prim toward the back. I find myself standing in a clump of 16s from Seam. 16. So if you're District 12, I guess I just call you 12s, and if you're District 16. So we know they're like minors in 12. I wonder what the 16s do. We all exchange terse nods, then focus our attention on the temporary stage that is set up before the Justice Building. It holds 3 chairs, a podium, 2 large glass bowls, one for boys and one for girls. I stare at the paper slips in the girls' ball. 20 of them have Katniss Everdeen written on them in careful handwriting. 2 of the 3 chairs fill with Madge's father, Mayor Undersea, who's a tall, balding man, and Effie Trinket, District 12's escort, fresh from the Capitol with her scary white grin and her pinkish hair and her spring green suit. They murmur to each other, and then they look with concern at the empty seat. if that's the drunk guy. I'm not sure who that is. So they say that the reason they have these games is because there was a rebellion called the Dark Days where people tried to rise up against the Capitol, and they were defeated. They killed District 13 to show everybody, oh, don't mess with us. And then the Treaty of Treason gave us new laws to guarantee peace as our yearly reminder that the dark days must never be repeated. It gave us the Hunger Games. Ooh, chills. The rules of the Hunger Games are simple. In punishment for the uprising, each of the 12 districts must provide one girl and one boy called tributes to participate. The 24 tributes will be imprisoned in a vast outdoor arena that could hold anything from a burning desert to a frozen wasteland. Over a period of several weeks, the competitors must fight to the death. The last tribute standing wins. That is severe. That is really severe. Okay, so here's a question then. Which do you think would be the best kind of outdoor arena for you to survive in? Like they mentioned frozen wastelands and deserts. I'm assuming you could be in a desert or a tundra or something. I mean, that you could be in a forest. Like, I'm thinking my best survival chances would probably be in a forest because I'd hide up in the jungle. Honey, you never find me. Everyone else would have died of starvation before they'd ever find me. That's why I always wanted dodgeball. I don't know what methods you would come out with your fighting, but hiding forever. That's what I would do. Taking the kids from our districts, forcing them to kill one another while we watch. This is the Capitol's way of reminding us we are totally at their mercy. Whatever words they use, the real message is clear. Look how we take children and sacrifice them, and there's nothing you can do. If you lift a finger, we will destroy every last one of you, just as we did in District 13. To make it humiliating as well as torturous, the Capitol requires us to treat the Hunger Games as a festivity, a sporting event, pitting every district against the others. The last tribute alive receives a life of ease back home, and their district will be showered with prizes largely consisting of food. All year, the Capitol will show the winning district gifts of grain and oil and even delicacies like sugar, while the rest of us battle starvation. They are smart, the district, Capitol rather, at controlling people, because in order to be a bad guy, you still have to convince yourself that there's justification in what you're doing, that you're not bad. So giving them these gifts and festivities, trying to make it seem fun, you can convince yourself, if you're from the Capitol, that you're doing them a favor. You're helping thin their herd, and they also have the opportunity, that you're given an opportunity to get some good treats and some fun and to earn the respect of the other people in their district. What do you guys think about that? Bright and bubbly as ever, Effie Trinket trots to the podium and gives her signature, "Happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor." Okay, now this should be Lady Gaga. I wonder if that's who was in mind. Y'all think that? Who would you cast as Effie Trinket? Her pink hair must be a wig because her curls have shifted slightly off center since her encounter with Haymitch. She goes on a bit about what an honor it is to be here, although everybody knows she's just aching to get bumped up to a better district where they have proper victors, not drunk ones who molest you in front of the entire nation. Oh, I guess the drunk guy that's going to be her trainer is from District 12. Okay. But suddenly I'm thinking of Gale and his 42 names in that big glass ball, and how the odds are not in his favor. Not compared to a lot of the boys. And maybe he's thinking the same thing about me because his face darkens and he turns away. But there are still thousands of slips I wish I could whisper to him. It's time for the drawing. Effie Trinket says as she does, "Ladies first," and crosses to the glass ball with the girls' names. She reaches in, digs her hand deep into the ball, and pulls out a slip of paper. The crowd draws in a collective breath, and then you can hear a pin drop. I'm feeling nauseous and so desperately hoping it's not me, that it's not me, that it's not me. No, I definitely shit my pants at that point. I hope they're all wearing adult diapers. Effie Trinket crosses to the podium, smooths the slip of paper, and reads out the name in a clear voice. And it's not me. It's Primrose Everdeen. Ooh, Lord. If you guys have siblings, would you take the place for your sibling? Would you volunteer yourself as tribute? My sister and I are super close, so obviously I would. She's my younger sister. You know, and if you're the older sibling, you feel like you're always responsible for protecting the younger one. That's just, I get Katniss on that. So far, y'all, I'm loving this. This book goes right to the point. Hunger Games is tasty. And I cannot wait till we actually get into the games and we meet our other boy tribute. Oh, but another question before you go anywhere. Gale, do you think that Katniss and Gale are in love? Are they just close friends? Are they just like confidants because they don't have anybody else they can trust? I want to hear what y'all think about this book so far. And tell me what part of the book you love best so I can know what to be excited about. Thank y'all for stopping in to the Dragon Ladies Book Club. See you guys on the next one.